Welcome to part three. We're joined by Kent, my pal from Belfast. How you doing, Kent? You all right, mate?
I'm all good, bro.
Good man. Good man. That's what I like to hear, Kent. I want to ask you about Adrian Mole because obviously his days now, obviously, numbered, aren't they? Really, at Sky and that it's all over for a minute. Where does he go now, and does he lose any of his stable?
It depends what contract they've signed. If they've signed a deal with a network, or have they signed a deal with a promoter who will have rights on the fighters. So it's going to be interesting. The way it works out is a lot of these guys are technically subcontractors. So you could possibly have, if I was a fighting fighter, I would say have a contract that makes you a subcontractor, which means you don't have terms and conditions to be tied down to a network or a manager or a promoter. So you can basically move around and fight on different platforms, which I think would be really beneficial. So it all depends on that on the contracts, but I don't see the end for him. I really don't see the end for him. I think he's had a bit of a rough deal, especially from Warren and Hearn have just kind of merged together, and at every opportunity they're trying to kick Ben Shalom at every opportunity. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know what the deal is with TNT. I don't know. Obviously, TNT is a massive platform.
Well, they haven't come out and said out yet, and he said he was making a big announcement, didn't he? Within days, and what's it been 2 weeks now?
So I don't know what's going to go on. They look at the fighters he has brought through and have done well from scratch. He basically had to start from scratch, so it's going to be interesting. It's not. It's I've never seen a time in boxing in Sky, especially in my time in boxing, where Sky actually hasn't had boxing on TV. It's boxing's it's really difficult. You're either really powerful in boxing, or you're at the bottom. There's no in the middle.
Yeah.
You've got other platforms like the Zone doing like misfit boxing and all this crap. I don't think it really helps boxing, especially those guys that are trying to get
Terry
traction
agrees
in it.
with you. Terry agrees with you on that. Big shout out Terry Chappendama at Highfield Boxing on Twitter. Yeah.
So I think boxing's lost its caveat at the minute. I think boxing's going through an identity crisis right now where we don't really know. Well, we know what type of boxing we want to see and what boxing is, but I look at the guys who you'll talk to in work or you'll talk to down the pub or you'll talk to in the gym, and they don't see the difference between misfit boxing and proper boxing. So it's a real boxing's going to go through a real transition here in the next couple of years for the good or for the bad.
Yeah. I've got a text here off my cousin. Smart move, R. Russell. This is what they call you up north, R. Russell. Smart move, R. Russell. That giving Carl's email out on your channel because if he don't come on yours, people are going to mine him. Well, listen, why should I get a stick if he's saying he wants to come on? And then you've heard the voice text today. So and he's yeah, we'll do. I said, well, we're on 20 bullet points. We can pick questions out. He wants to pick them and blah blah blah. So he's now going to get 400 or 500 emails. He'll pick obviously if he picks soft ones, whatever, he's still going to face me, isn't he? So, but like I said, that's extra. But yeah, it is a smart move for me because people cannot then say that I'm full of shit and that I'm inventing bollocks. So puts me in the clear, doesn't it? Saves me having to mess about with admin, but Getting back to what you're saying there about Benjamin Shalom, aka the Mole in the midnight hour. Cried Mole, Mole, Mole in the hole. He's done, but how did he get an exclusive deal with Sky after 4 shows? How can that be, Kent? How were he even in the fucking mix anyway? I mean, Carl Greaves had to hold his hand on 2 of them shows. You know what I mean? Because he didn't know what he was doing.
It was basically Eddie. He left Sky. It was all down to Sky. Sky are to blame for all this. Sky give Eddie all the dates. They give him all the power there. Basically, they put all their eggs in one basket, and they never ever had a plan B. And when it got down to it, and Eddie had gone, they basically were in shit street. There was nowhere for them to go, and obviously Ben was doing stuff. That golden tournament, or that tournament they had, was basically a rip off of Prize Fighter. So it was just a transition time that they didn't really work out. Why would you give all your dates to one promoter for to monopolize everything? And at that time, Hearn had the power because he had Joshua. Joshua was the money tree. He brought in the pay-per-view platform. Basically what all these networks need is they need fighters with name brand value, and they need 1 or 2 fighters that are going to do 3 pay-per-views a year. That's the way the model works. And basically Eddie had more than that and left, and they had nothing. And they brought in obviously Ben Shalom, and they were doing okay for a while. Look who they started with. Their main fighters was Nathan Gorman and Natasha Jonas. They had a
Yeah,
really
he's got
good date.
to burn, hasn't he, Nathan Gorman, by the way, hasn't he?
It
He's
was
just
it was all
unfit,
right.
just unfit.
Yeah, it was all right. Then they had a really smart deal with Eubank, where Eubank could come in and basically fight on their cards, who was with Sarland at the time and had a multi agreement deal that he could go anywhere and fight anywhere, which was smart business because it got Eubank on their platform, and he got the highest rated non pay per view show ever on Sky, which was him and Liam Williams. So they were going well at the time, but I think just there was too many fights that wasn't made. You look at the fighters he had signed, who he released, or it didn't work out, or he made the Kell Brook Amir Khan fight that Eddie or Frank couldn't make. So it was steady for a while, and then I just think the whole Riyadh season thing just really shook it up. So I think it really hurt their traction at the time. I think it's just really shook up boxing, and I think as well there's too many. You look at the world title fight. I'm not knocking women's boxing, but I think there was a lot of female world title fights on the cards more than male world title fights. So
Okay,
it's
Kent.
it's difficult to say. It's just they didn't get the traction.
How do you think the dates are going to be shared out now?
I don't know what way they're going to do it, Russell. It's and you bring in somebody else, it's going to be the same thing over again. Who else is there with fighters with name brand value that will do better than what Ben Shalom has at the minute?
Hmm. Well,
None.
Ben Shalom for me couldn't fill the dates. You know what I mean? Eddie, at least Eddie filled his 20 dates a year with Sky, didn't he? And he's had a lot of dough, hard at job, but when people got to know what dough he were getting, and they were putting pressure on him, and Billy Joe's been hovering around Sky and Ben Shalom for a while now and bigging him up and that. Do you see him coming back now? 18 stone fat man. What do you think?
Bully Joe, you mean?
Well, he's always hovering around shows and bigging Ben Shalom up, saying he's in talks. Talks to do what? Order food or eat pizza? What is he in talks about? Saying he's coming back. Coming back from where, Billy? Curry House. What's Billy Joe coming back from? He was in one firefight in his career and he quit on his stool. But Coogan didn't want to put that on him or any of these YouTubers, do they? Coming back from what? Quitting on your stool? Boxing King Media, next time you get Billy Joe on and he says he's coming back, ask him, coming back from what?
I think that whole Eubank in Ben fight. I think basically he just tried to make everything about himself. That's all it was.
What with Ben Davidson in corner? Mr. Go-To guy. Go to Ben Davidson, he will get you put on button bone. Lee Wood says he's coming back. He wants to fight old Pickled Onion Space Raider again. What do you make of that?
I could think of nothing worse than watching Joss Warrington against Lee Wood. I also I could think of nothing worse. I think it would be a terrible fight against two fighters that are way past their best. Way past their best.
Okay. Why didn't Super Bean, the man that beat cancer, so he says, why didn't Super Bean, ex-gambling addict, go into bat for Ben Shalom? Because when Ben Shalom was at Sky and Super Bean were there, Super Bean had his arm around him and he was saying he's like my little brother and we're like family and all that. They use that family thing a lot. Dennis used to use that one. Dennis used to
Oh,
use that one with me all the time. And I used to go, Dennis, don't be giving me any of that shit. Because you know I don't trust anything I'm told me. So Super Bean's little brother, like family, why didn't he go into bat for him when really behind the scenes you were like sticking knife in him? Horsecock. Horsecock were team Adrian Mole, wasn't he, for about 9 months? And what happened then? So where are all these people now? Why are they not coming out to bat for Adrian Mole? All these were like family. Where's the family? Could you imagine if you were really if you were proper related to this shower of shit? Could you imagine? Hey?
basically, right now, Ben Shalom is drowning, right?
Drowned. He's been took out into deep water like Frotch did with Groves. Drowned him.
Basically, Ben Shalom right now is drowning. There's piranhas around him. There's sharks around him. Johnny Nelson and Bean are standing looking down.
Bean. What? Bean. Bean. Oh, Bean. Bean.
No,
Oh
say
my
it,
God.
say
Hang on
it.
a second. Hang on a
Russell,
second.
Russell, please say it. Please say it. Please
No.
say it. Could have been, should have been, could have been, run have been, Beanie.
Hang on a second. 2 seconds. Two seconds. Oh. So, okie dokie. Okay. What we got next? Let's have a look. We'll finish off on this one because mother-in-law just found me. We'll finish off on this one. Lifetime bans they were talking about on Talk Sport. We'll do 6 minutes on this and get the 20 minutes out. Lifetime bans on Talk Sport. What do you think?
Well, Dori Chisora was talking about lifetime bans for fighters and drug cheats, but he's hugging and lifting up Conor Benn at shows.
Yeah.
So it's all right saying lifetime bans, but they, in principle, if you were lifetime banning a lot of these fighters, Matchroom wouldn't have a stable. But I totally agree. I think if you're taking drugs, performance enhancing drugs in a sport where somebody could be potentially murdered and killed, you need to be banned for life.
I want life
Diff-
bans, me. I want life bans.
different than I'm not condoning, drug taking in any sport, but you look at athletics, you look at other sports, where drug taking, yeah, you'll win races and you'll perform and all, but that's not life and death. Boxing is a life and death sport.
Yeah.
And as Tony Bellew used to say, Tony, remember this, you prick? You used to say this: lifetime bans are lifetime bans. If you're caught taking drugs in a sport where you can kill someone, you're banned for life.
Yeah. Now, Tony Bellew, a few years ago, when Canelo tested dirty, was calling for drug cheats to be put in stocks, like they used to do in 16th, 17th century. If you did anything bad in your village, they put you in stocks, and everybody would come out and they'd either, depending on the crime, they'd throw fruit at you, or they'd throw house bricks or stones, wouldn't they, and stone you in the street. Now, Tony were calling for stonings. But then once it were friends of his, he soon changed his tune, didn't he? Do you see where I'm coming from? And then when Eddie signed Canelo, they were all having meals together and all that, weren't they? So a bit hypocritical from our tone, but I'm all for lifetime bans, me. I mean, when I had to sit and listen to that knackers, I know it were recreational, it's cocaine and that, but Liam Cameron, in my opinion, took cocaine during the Sheedy fight week, and the Gemman fight because he was starving, and cocaine takes away your hunger. Now, I had to sit for months on end and listen to shit from that. And then when it came out that he tested dirty fight before for the Sheedy fight, Dennis just went like that. That's it. You tell Dennis a lie, you're done. If you fuck up, Dennis will go, mess up, own it, and we're all right. If you tell whoppers and you get caught, you're done. So that's why Liam didn't get no backing. Dennis has lawyers on retainers. He could have got him a 2 year ban and blah de blah, and he'd been all right. But he right at game 4.5 years, one, he would have got a 4 year ban. But point I want to make is he weren't honest. Now, if it's recreational, you can still be cheated. People smoke cannabis with boxers to help sleep at night because you need your sleep. So any drugs whatsoever, for me, it's lifetime bans. But the promoters now, if they've got big ticket sellers or people with big profiles or a lot of money invested in them, in these fighters, they're trying to go around the houses like Crusher Ben, 2-time drug cheat, and nobody knows what's happened, do they? He's fighting now. Well, has he served a ban? A silent one, hasn't he? What's gone on? But nobody wants to ask the questions, not even the Cobra. I think he might have been limited on it, what he could ask him. But we're going to find out, aren't we, when he comes on my channel. But if I had the opportunity to interview Conor Ben, I say, well, how did it get in your system? And why is Dennis McCann? That one's gone all quiet, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean? What do you think?
I think the most dangerous thing of all this is the silent ban. Can you imagine being a fighter and fighting a guy not knowing if this guy has potentially been a drug cheat and basically had a silent ban? Basically you want to know who you're fighting. Are they clean or not? But potentially with the silent ban, you could go into that fight not knowing that someone's potentially served a silent ban. That's potentially very dangerous.
Hmm. Okay. Savannah fights in America, doesn't she? Shortly, doesn't she? Do you think she's going to struggle for a dance partner without Clarissa Shields?
Carissa Shields now is up fighting at heavyweight and light heavyweight and middleweight, and I don't think there's. It's difficult to say. She's obviously, the place to be for women's boxing with Jake Paul and his promotion. He's signed probably 90% of all the girls in the UK that are really, really good and can fight. So it's difficult. It depends. It depends on the platform, Russell. It's not the
Yeah.
dance partner.
Oh,
You could have the best dance partner in the world, but have a crap platform. I think if you're on a platform that's getting traction and has got good selling, good commercial advertising, and I think that's where you need to be. I think I think the platform is more important than the opponent at the minute.
Okay. Okay. Well, listen, Kent, it's been a pleasure having you on. Yeah, how much kit have I? Because it's weekend. I had that Friday feeling last night, kid. You know what? When it grips you on a weekend. Did you have that Friday feeling last night, Ken? Loads of beers and
Yeah,
that, and a bit of that, and chasing crumpet all night, were you?
no beers.
And no
I had to do
crumpet.
it. I had to do a deep clean the last night of the house. I was up to 1 o'clock cleaning and a
Okay.
pre-season. I start pre-season today, so I'm looking forward to pre-season.
Oh, you're a goalkeeper, aren't you, Ken?
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to
There's a
pre-season.
book I want you to read, Ken. It was my first ever book. I remember as a kid in late 70s when I first started at junior school in 79 September. I joined the book club when my mum made me. And it's called The Goalkeeper's Revenge. All right, so you should go read that. That's a good book. That inspired me, but I weren't a goalie. All right, then. Well, listen, you take care, Kent, and have a great weekend. And thanks for coming on Porky's Corner. It's been a real tonic. All right,
Peace out.
peace out. Cheers, mate. Thanks. Well, that were Kent from Belfast. Lovely kid. He's been coming on the channel with me for years and very loyal kid. So I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. That is it for today now. I'm done. So, okie dokie. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. And thanks for sharing the videos as well. Does help. One booyaka. Peace out.